Hello, this is Veronica at Jamf, and in this lesson we'll be discussing blueprints in Jamf Now. Blueprints serve as a recipe of settings and apps for a group of devices based on what purpose they serve. You can name your blueprints based on use case, role, or department and create as many as you need. To create a new blueprint, click New Blueprint. Give it a name and description, and if you want the blueprint to be available only to users that it's shared with, check the box to make it private, which will hide this blueprint during open enrollment for users that are self-enrolling their devices. Then click Save. Every blueprint will give you many options to configure settings over the air. Don't forget to hit Save within each section as you make your changes. Let's start with apps. The apps you add in this section will be made available to all users within the blueprint. Click Add an App to select the catalog of apps, including App Store apps and in-house apps or PKGs for this specific group. Then click Add. If you'd like to add a web clip, you can do so in this next section. A web clip bookmarks a web page as an app on the home screen of an iOS device or dock of a Mac for easier access. Name your web clip as you want it to show up on the devices. Then fill in your URL. And if you'd like to upload a specific image to be displayed as the icon, drag and drop your image into the window. If you're planning to restrict Safari, select full screen mode and decide if you want the clip to be removable by the user. The security portion of Blueprints allows us to set password and encryption policies. If you want to make sure devices are required to have a password or passcode, check the box for Require Passcode. This will ensure a user is not able to remove a passcode on a device. You'll then be presented with options to require complexity, length, symbols, and even age. As you scroll down, you'll have many options like grace period, auto lock on iOS, and screensaver for Mac. To ensure your Macs are encrypted to keep data safe, click Enable File Vault 2. This will automatically collect your decryption key for all Macs that do not currently have File Vault enabled. For all other Macs, you can run a simple script in Terminal. Steps are outlined in our Help Center. Next is Email. This option serves two purposes. One, to ensure users have access to their work email, and two, configuring email through Jamf Now allows you to manage the data coming through that email. We'll discuss this in the restrictions portion. You can select options like Google, Yahoo, which don't require additional server details. For Exchange or IMAP, you'll be able to add mail server information. This way, users don't have to manually input those details to configure emails themselves. This allows you to assign emails either under the Assign To menu in an inventory record, or under Auto Enrollment, View Devices, and clicking the three dots next to the specific device, clicking Assign Device. It's important to note only devices that are assigned to a blueprint with email configured will allow you to assign emails. Once you've assigned an email, all your users will need to know is their password to load their email on their devices. You can also configure Wi-Fi networks for your devices, so devices can join the corporate Wi-Fi networks without needing to connect with a password. Click Add a Wi-Fi network to add one to your blueprint. It's important to know that the network name and password are case sensitive, so be sure to cross-check as you add networks. Then select your security type and type in that network password. Select your options. We recommend selecting Automatically Join if you'd like for devices to join the network once they're within range. Next is restrictions. There are over 70 restrictions available with Jamf Now. If you'd like to dive into the detail of each restriction, take a look at Restrictions for iOS and macOS in the Help Center. In this video, we'll be discussing some key restrictions. Your blueprint will break down restrictions into categories, starting with apps. As you explore restrictions, keep in mind many require supervision. If you'd prefer users not have access to the App Store, you can remove the icon with Disable Installing Apps on Device. Alternatively, you can ensure users not delete key business apps with Disable Deleting Apps. You can also disable some functionality like camera or FaceTime. You've also got some granular options for restricting Safari. We recommend testing with all of your key apps with this restriction to ensure they work as intended. You can also disable native apps like iBooks or iTunes stores. Under Security and Privacy, you can turn on Managed App Data Segregation to make sure any work email attachments can only open in managed apps. You can also disable screenshots and the ability for a user to erase all content in settings. For network and cellular restrictions, you can use Wi-Fi whitelisting so devices only connect to the Wi-Fi networks in that blueprint. Take caution as this may cause the device to lose connectivity and therefore lose its connection to Jamf Now. With iCloud, you can restrict some or all functionality. The same for Siri. If you'd like to prevent users from personalizing a device with a personal Apple ID or email account, you can prevent changes to accounts under email. You can also prevent the user from making changes to the wallpaper of these devices, useful if you plan to customize the wallpaper from Jamf Now and want to be sure your users don't remove the images. Our last restriction is delay OS updates. You can choose to restrict users from updating their operating system within a given time frame, up to 90 days. This way, your teams can be sure to test business-critical apps and business-critical software with the newest OS updates. This is also useful if the apps needed for your business don't usually offer same-day compatibility with new Apple operating systems. Single app mode should be used for any devices you intend to place into kiosk mode. This feature is only available to supervised devices. You can select the app from the drop-down menu that you'd like to lock the device into. Be aware it must already be included in the blueprint for it to show up in this list. Once selected, you can disable some hardware features like volume to make sure a device is never muted, or screen rotation to avoid disorienting a user. Wallpaper is our last option within Blueprints. If you'd like to change the wallpaper to a corporate logo or any other identifier, simply drag and drop your image into the home screen or lock screen menu of wallpaper in your blueprint. Keep in mind this will only affect supervised devices. If you'd like to see the list of devices currently assigned to this blueprint, click Devices at the bottom of your blueprint menu. Lastly, if you create this blueprint as private, for users that are self-enrolling, click your blueprint options where the name of the blueprint is displayed and click Enrollment to copy the specific link for this private user. You can also easily pre-assign this private blueprint to devices under Auto Enrollment, then View Devices, and clicking the 3 dots to assign. That's all in the lesson for Blueprints in Jamf Now. Thanks for watching.